Societatea în care trăim ne oferă motive să o criticăm zi de zi, dar noi îi putem oferi motive să devină un loc mai bun. Sunt Eliana Moralu și te invit la Radio Links să stăm de vorbă în emisiunea Lume Bună, un eveniment pentru toți cei care doresc o schimbare mai bine pentru ei și pentru comunitatea din care fac parte. Bună seara, dragi prieteni, și bine v-am regăsit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii Lume Bună. Eliana Moralu sunt și în această seară mă bucur tare mult să am alături de mine doi invitați pe care o să-i vedeți și voi imediat. Emisiunea de astăzi o să aibă loc în limba engleză, iar dacă cei care ne ascultă au ceva probleme în a înțelege limba, ne puteți scrie pe chat și imediat o să venim și cu traducerea. Dacă nu, vă așteptăm oricum alături de noi, fie în limba română, fie în limba engleză, pe pagina de Facebook Radio Links România sau pe chatul nostru de pe radiolinks.ro. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ian Tilling and Violeta Cenusă, welcome to our radio show. So Ian is the founder and the president of the Casa Ioana Association, Asociația Casa Ioana, and works full-time with Casa Ioana as a volunteer. Ian sits on the executive board of the European Federation of National Organization working with the homeless, and he is the organization treasurer and Romanian country representative. He is also chairperson of a European working group on participation, the participation of homeless service users in the services that affect them. And Violeta Cenusă is the resource development officer for Casa Ioana. Her involvement with Casa Ioana started 2 years ago when she took on the management of the Casa Ioana annual Christmas soup kitchen event at the Gara de Nord. She has more than 8 years in sales and analyze. So Ian and Violeta are here to talk with us about Casa Ioana. I must confess I've been following their activity for a while, and I'm pretty amazed of their achievements, so congratulations. Casa Ioana is a domestic abuse and family homelessness charity working here in Bucharest, Romania. And I would start with asking you how this story started actually. So how was the beginning, then the first steps into building Casa Ioana?
Well, I was formerly in the UK police. I was a detective with the Kent police, and was coming up to retirement. I was really searching for something that I wanted to do after I retired, because we retired quite early. And I visited Romania in the middle of 1990 and worked along with a British nurse with some children with disability in a home hospital in Plătărești. And we spent a month there. When we left, we didn't want to come back. To tell you the truth, it was an awful experience. But we got as far as Vienna, and the pull from Romania grew ever stronger the more we went west. And I returned some few months later, and we started doing a long-term project with the home hospital. And then eventually I came here to live at the beginning of 1992.
That's a long time.
Yeah, a long time. So I was the project director for a British NGO who was working over here at the time, but the venture collapsed effectively in 1994. But I was encouraged by the Romanian people that I'd been working with and some friends to turn it around and make it into a Romanian organisation. So we started off really by building a resource centre in Ferentar. So I had one of the blocks in Ferentar. We created several projects there for children with disability and adults. And then in 1997 I was asked by the then Mayor of Bucharest to open the country's first night shelter for older homeless people, which we did that winter. And really we've concentrated on homelessness and domestic violence since that time, since 2000 in particular.
I see. Violeta, could you map the main programs of the Casa Ioana at the moment, the main programs?
Yeah, the most important one is the Acasă program, where we try actually to help and accommodate women and children which are domestically abused, and also the family homelessness. to also offer them guidance, and not only that, but to help them to reintegrate in society. Ian, I would like you to speak more about the experience I think the last years, because it's you know, have more experience, let's say experience in the activities which were happening in the shelter.
I mean, yeah, basically, our beneficiaries, as we prefer to call them, can stay with us for up to 1 year. Generally speaking, they're ready to move on between 6 and 8 months. But everything is geared to help rebuild what is broken and led to their homelessness, and at the same time working with them to increase their self-confidence, their dignity levels, so that they can actually make very positive move-ons. So it's an incredible amount of work that goes into it. We have a team of psychologists and social workers who work full-time on an individual basis. We build up an individual action plan for each beneficiary. We clearly define goals and time frames. So, in other words, I suppose it's like a project plan for life, with the end result being them in their own accommodation. There's a huge lack of affordable accommodation in Bucharest, as everyone finds out. And yet we spend a great deal of time building networks, trying to find landlords who are prepared to rent just a little bit smaller. It's all about empowerment, in a word. So we empower our beneficiaries to actually take on life again, and hopefully we equip them so that if they ever do come into another crisis in the future, they're able to cope, they can manage that crisis.
Do you have any success examples close to your heart from your former beneficiaries? For example, do you have any particular name or story?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, we have many. There was one particular woman who lived with us for about 9 months in Casa Ioana. She had quite a tragic past, but she slowly got life back together again while she was with us, and then she left. We know she moved into a rented apartment, but I heard nothing more from her. And she was a particularly good example of what Casa Ioana can do, because she really was at rock bottom before she came to us. And I met her 2 years ago, just per chance. I happened to be walking along and there she was, and she came over and we said hello and we started chatting. And she was telling me how much her life had changed, and she'd remarried and had another child, and everything was perfect. And I said to her, you know, why didn't you pick up the telephone? Why didn't you kind of write something and just let us know what was going on? And she just simply said, Ian, that was the darkest time of my life, and I just simply do not want to go back there again. And for me, it was a revelation, really, because I used to get worried that beneficiaries were not coming back after they'd left. And for me, it kind of made sense to me.
How many people do you have in your shelters at the moment?
So we have, go on.
No, please.
We have 20 families and 9 single women. So our biggest shelter holds 13 families and 6 single women. And then our other refuge holds 7 families and 2 single women.
How can the person in need can contact you? How can they reach you? How can they become your beneficiary if they are in a difficult situation?
Most of it through social assistance, and not only by they find out from other organization or from the city hall, yeah, and it's also by we are recommended by other people,
Okay.
which know about us. So we have already so many years, since 1995. So
How long can a family or a single mother can stay in one of your shelters?
Generally speaking, it's up to 1 year, but it is flexible. I mean, the vast majority are able to move on, as I said earlier, reasonably quickly. Others will take a little bit more time. It depends on the complexity of the problems that they face and how much work we need to do with them.
Just because I want our viewers to better understand why it's so important, your mission. Of course, you are helping people in need. You are helping homeless people, single mothers. But do you have any information, like overall in Romania, how we do tackle this the problem with the homeless people, and how is the situation in Romania? Why it's so important that association like Casa Ioana, for example, to take this type of actions?
It's interesting because before 1989, people would say there was no homelessness in Romania, but unfortunately there was, except for these people who were imprisoned or kept in mental institutions or whatever. But it really started becoming quite a serious problem in the mid-90s when we had that explosion of poverty again, the second wave of poverty throughout Romania. But strangely enough, there was no definition of what a homeless person was until quite recently in the last social assistance legislation. There was actually a definition. So if you're not defined as a person or a group, you don't comply with any of the legislation, in the sense that the legislation doesn't protect you or doesn't apply to you. So at least we have that definition now. But there are very, very few organisations actually coping with the homeless issue here. It's still very much stigmatised. The mindset is the fact that it tends to lean towards blaming these people for their own situation, where, I mean, our experience is just contrary to that. I mean, it's people who have very perfectly good normal lives, who suddenly begin to lose resources as their life goes on, until the final resource they lose is their house. So, but there's another organisation, NGO, which is working on outreach work, trying to reach these people on the street and helping them there. But there's so few services. I mean, even the small amount of social housing or affordable housing provided by the local authorities, I mean, there's 5 years waiting lists for that. But the incredible thing is, homelessness is not a priority list on the housing, on social housing. I mean, it's just crazy.
I see. I just want to reinforce the fact that our viewers can ask questions, and I expect them to ask their question on our chat on www.radiolinks.ro or on our Facebook page, Radiolinks Romania. Okay. Also, you said that you have beneficiary single mothers and victim of domestic abuse, right?
Yep.
So how do you work with these women? I'm very interested in the topic, not only because I'm a woman and domestic violence is high priority for me, but also because I come from a family where my mother was single, for example. So it's very close to my heart, to this topic. So could you describe how do you work with these women, and how can you help them? How Casa Ioana can help them?
The first thing, the priority is safety. So it's to give them somewhere which is safe to stay. If the abuser, and I use male and female in the sense of the vast majority of violence is against women and is perpetrated by men. It's not the only violence, obviously. It does go the other way around, but it's predominantly those two groups. So once we got them safe, if we need to prevent the abuser contacting the survivor, as we call them, then we can go to the police and go through the courts to obtain a restriction order. So the safety is the paramount thing. We normally give them a period just to settle down, so we don't, just basically to find out what their basic needs are. And then we work on an holistic assessment of the whole thing, and that can last up to 2 hours. It's a very, very in-depth analysis. And then really it's all about building up self-esteem again, resolving issues that are preventing them from moving on, getting them back into employment so they are economically independent, and then again into accommodation. So it's a step-by-step process. Again, it's through an action plan, so we work with them. It's reviewed every 3 months. It's negotiated with them. So it's empowerment.
We were talking before our radio show, and you also said that you have a financial literacy program. Could you talk about this a little bit?
Ian actually had experience and the connection lately onto this, and this is based on helping basically the mothers and not only to get the basic skills to come back to work, and by this will mean the training and everything which is requested to come back different as a different person. In plus,
I mean,
So you have like educational. It's an educational program basically.
yes, so it's done through workshops. So the first offer really is to offer mums who have not got a high school diploma to go back to school. And for that, we'll give them a learning allowance, as we call it, which is equal to the minimum salary. So it's an incentive. So quite obviously, if a mother's living in Casa Ioana with her children, she needs to put food on the table, and she's not going to be able to do that if she's not getting some form of income. And then we run a series of workshops really on giving our beneficiaries the edge when it comes to job interviews. So they're learning soft skills such as communication, teamwork, all these other facets that employers are looking for in employees. Then we do our financial, personal and family budgeting program, just to teach them the skills of budgeting and trying to work around the complex banking instruments that there are nowadays in the modern world. And then the really exciting part is the 3 modules, which is getting ready for work, where we invite HR professionals from companies and others who are working in big multinational companies to actually work alongside our beneficiaries, helping them build CVs, giving them mock interviews, inviting them into their workplaces so they can see what a working environment is. So everything is geared to giving them the best possible opportunities to get meaningfully and gainfully employed.
Okay. So you've been around, to say so, for almost 20 years. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, we need more than 1 hour to talk about your entire activity. So I would like to ask you first from all these 20 years, what would be the moment you care most about? A program you care most about, or something you both are very proud of from everything you've done so far?
What I know and I was involved in is basically managing and project managing the soup kitchen event, which is held before every Christmas at Gara de Nord. And it was amazing to see how many people are in needs, actually.
Sorry for interrupting, but actually I've seen about soup kitchen in television, and this is how I firstly heard about Casa Ioana. So congratulations, yeah.
It was basically a teamwork, because we were together with Casa Ioana team, and not only by bringing also the volunteer together and arrange the all event, and everything was to be on time, and all the donations to be delivered, and the smile we brought on their face when we give them the soup, and we offer them the soup, and we offer them the bags,
so
and so
simple,
on.
actually. It's so simple for us. It's
that,
like a
that
basic
was,
thing.
it was
but
an idea which was brought initially like 3 years ago, and it was unbelievable how some simple things can actually just bring that smile on their faces. It's unbelievable.
And I think it's a good reminder for the rest of us that we all have this. You know, we can eat every day soup, or we can have anything we want. We are not very rich, but we have all the means to have a good living. So when I see this kind of events or this kind of initiative, for me personally, it's a reminder that I need to be thankful for what I have, even if I'm not like super rich or I don't have everything I want, but I can afford these simple things. But there are a lot of other people who cannot. So this kind of initiatives, besides their philanthropic side, they are a good reminder for all of us that we need to get involved first of all, and then that we need to be thankful for what we have already. How about you, Ian?
For me, for me, wow.
You have a full, like how many? It's an album actually. It's a book.
I think really it was the realization whilst we were running the night shelter. It was just a simple emergency night shelter. They came in at 8 o'clock. They had something warm to drink, a soup or chorba, and they were out again at 8 in the morning. But it was a realization that what we were doing was simply offering a very basic need, and I wanted to do more than that. And the only way I could do that would be to work closely with them to build them up. So that's when I decided to employ social workers, and I took them straight from university. I moulded them, and boy, did we get some results, absolutely amazing results. But I think one of the big things is that really a big part of our success is just trusting people and giving them responsibility.
That's the most important thing.
And as a very good example of that is outside normal working hours, there's no member of staff in Casa Ioana. So they manage their accommodation. They're adults. They're quite capable of managing they don't need a security guard at the bottom of the stairwell or anything else like that. They're quite capable, and they obviously take the challenge. They're very much involved in recovering themselves, in the sense of they don't feel like recipients of charity, because they're not recipients of charity. They're working hard at trying to resolve their issues and working alongside their social worker. So we have this crisis of identity, really, in many respects, because we want to appeal to donors as a charity working with homeless people, and yet we are very, very professional. We have some really profoundly professional services. I've just come back from visiting some projects in Budapest in Hungary, and our projects are far more advanced. So we really do have a model which is respected throughout Europe. I mean, we're well known throughout Europe. What we have to do now, of course, is get very well known here.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really amazing. You know, usually when we talk about Romania, we all have bad things to say about Romania, unfortunately. But there are, on the other side, in my radio show, every week I find about amazing programs. And as you said here, Casa Ioana is an example here in Romania, and it can be an example in the international stage. So I'm really glad when I have the opportunity to hear about good things about Romania, not only about the bad part of Romania.
But I think the other important thing is that the Casa program, as we call it, was born and bred in Romania. I mean, it's not been borrowed from some other country. It's been based on our personal experience of working with homeless people over the years, and as we've built on that expertise, we've written it down, we've made it policy, and we've built on that success. So it's very systematic and a very brave, I think, in many cases, attempt to tackle some of the really big issues that people our experience. I mean, I quite often quote as, if you're down and out in Bucharest, I mean, wow, where is there left to go? I mean, there are so few services, and I mean, I hear people say, homeless people are lazy. I mean, we had one mum with 2 children who came to stay with us, who was holding 3 jobs a day, and still couldn't afford to rent a place to live. 3 jobs a day she was doing. She was working 16 hours a day. It was crazy.
And you are wondering why? Because unfortunately they are not paid very well.
No.
Yeah.
And they have to actually work very hard. And they don't have many of them, they didn't have the chance to finish their high school.
Education,
so that
yeah.
is actually very, very, very important.
And as I can understand from your programs, you are basically not only providing accommodation but also the education part, which goes hand in hand, to say so, with everything. Okay. So if you have questions, dear viewers, please ask them on our chat on radiolinks.ro or on our Facebook page, Radio Links Romania. And speaking of Facebook, and because our viewers are always interested in how can they find out more about you, could you tell us, Violeta, what's your Facebook page and your website page?
It's
give them a hint.
www.casaioana.org, and there you can find all the links to Twitter and to Facebook and so on. And
I'll just write it on
Yeah.
our chat as well, just to be written
Yes.
as well.
yeah, and it's on Facebook it's Casa Ioana, and also on LinkedIn. We are also on LinkedIn. Casa
Okay, so
Ioana.
you're everywhere.
Yeah, we are everywhere. Yes, so you can find
Yes.
us everywhere, and still have a chance for. I mean, if someone wants to help Casa Ioana, they can help just by redirecting 2%. Probably is the
Oh,
most
yes.
easiest
Yes,
one,
yes.
like the form for Casa Ioana, and they can address it to me or to office@casaioana.org, and they can just send an email, and we can send them the form, and we will arrange to collect it if it's requested.
Yeah, actually, you anticipated my question, because
Okay.
I wanted to ask you also how you do a lot of great things, but how can the community take part in this great things? How do you receive volunteers? Do you work with volunteers, or how can donate to you? Could you tell us more a little bit, please?
There are many people which actually can. They are coming from and bringing toys, clothes to children and moms, and also the fathers, and not only that, but they help us. Some of them with small amounts of money, or we have partners and companies which help us along, and they actually helped us and support us for many years. We have volunteers which are just there not only for our events, charitable events, but are just involved in day-by-day experience. And we will have also companies which will want to get. We actually have them plan to come and get involved in staying with us for a day or for many days, and see exactly how the activity is in the shelter.
Okay, I see. And now let's talk in the same idea. I know you are planning a big event in the summer. Could you tell us a little
Actually,
bit?
there are 2.
2, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
We have
even
on,
better.
Yeah, 13th of June. It's at Radisson. We will have Casa Ioana Big Bands Night, which will be held by the pool, and on our Facebook page, mainly you can see actually how the event last year was, and whatever. If someone wants, they can book their seat. We're available, and on July we will actually turn 20. So we will have 20 years of activity.
Happy birthday.
Thank
you.
Happy birthday.
So we
Many
will
years to
actually have a party. If you want to complete me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really to say that, I mean, that the Big Band Night is something that we've been running for, this will be the 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
It's our major fundraising event of the year. And the 20th anniversary is something, frankly, that I could not even dream of even 10 years ago. I mean, to think that we're still around now, particularly through the economic situation as has been over the last few years. We're fortunate. We have a government subvention, which is about 20% now of our funding needs. And the rest is really from companies and individuals who on a regular basis pay Casa Ioana monthly sums to keep us going. And they've, as Vio pointed out, I mean, they've been with us a long, long time. So I think, I know that we're known as a very, very transparent, open organisation.
We always have that to back up, and sorry to stop you, but on our website you can actually find the reports, the annual reports. So we are very, very transparent, exactly as you said, and we can prove through that what we do actually with the money.
I think it's open. I think it's the way ahead. I mean, all NGOs should be able to print out their financial accounts each year. I mean, it's a public record as far as we're concerned, and our activity reports. So at first, these reports used to be about 35 pages long and used to take me about a month to write because everything was in detail. But I've learnt over the years that nobody reads those, so we do a shorter version nowadays. But I mean, the facts are there, so we are accountable. It's public money that we're spending. And individuals, and we have a responsibility to account for that.
So whenever, if someone wants to make an appointment, come and see us and help us monthly or from time to time, they are very welcome to come and see us.
Yeah, and I must confess that I was at your Casa Ioana, so I was at the
Shelter.
actual shelter, and although we had a more business meeting to say so, I had a chance to take a look around, and I was. It's an experience that you can, the viewers can experience as well. So we have a few minutes left. So I'd like to make a sum up of our discussion, just to have the main ideas. We all have the main ideas. If you could say again, please, what's your main program and what do you do in this program? Why it's important?
Okay, the real program is the Casa program because it provides temporary safe accommodation to women and children experiencing domestic violence and family homelessness. But it's also built in the psychosocial support. So what we can do is fix what's gone wrong in the past and help make things better for the future.
And how can we help you through donations? Could you say again about the 2% or
Yes,
other ways we can get involved?
The easiest way is to actually write me an email or to Office Casa Ioana. So it is basically violeta.cenusha@casaioana.org or simply office with double F at casaioana.org. It's much more simple, and we can send them the form and we can just give them the right information. And also we can make arrange some visits to our shelter.
Yes, I wrote those information on our chat for you to have at hand. And what I would like to say in the end, because you are celebrating 20 years, I would look forward to, not in 20 years, yeah, I wish this program will grow and still be around in 20 years, but I would like to see you as soon as possible again in our radio studio and to talk a little bit about the progress and what have you done with the program and how you developed everything. Thank you very much for being together, for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. And I'm looking forward for our next meeting. It's an open invitation, so you are welcome at any time. Dragi prieteni, vă mulțumim tare mult că ați fost alături de noi și dacă aveți întrebări, ați auzit-o pe Violeta, o să reiau și eu datele ei, violeta.cenușa@casaioana.org și la fel www.casaioana.org, la fel dacă doriți să aflați mai multe. Pe Facebook la fel găsiți foarte repede și pentru că tot mai aveți timp până în mai să completați formularul 2% și nu v-ați hotărât încă dacă cui și pentru cine să dați, Casa Ioana cred că poate fi un bun beneficiar, să spunem așa. Eu vă aștept și săptămâna viitoare, tot de la ora 6, când povestim tot despre proiecte și oameni care schimbă comunitatea lor în mai bine. Până atunci, o săptămână cu soare în suflete și vă aștept și săptămâna viitoare. Steliana Moral sunt, vă mulțumesc că ați fost în această seară alături de noi. La revedere!